you are not done. Your body hasn't retired from passion. And your relationship, it's not too late. It's waiting to be reignited. At 50, 60, or even 70, intimacy isn't over. It's just entering its most meaningful stage. Many couples silently drift apart after 50, not because love is lost, but because connection fades. But physical closeness can still be magnetic, powerful, and healing if you're willing to be intentional. Today I'll share 5 powerful positions that don't just keep the fire alive, they deepen your bond and restore intimacy at its core. At the core of real intimacy, especially after 50, lies a truth most couples overlook: the power of stillness. In our younger years, passion often looks like movement, action, excitement, but as we age, intimacy matures, it deepens. It becomes less about performance and more about presence. And there is perhaps no greater embodiment of that than the heart-to-heart hold. Picture this. You and your partner lying chest to chest, fully clothed or unclothed, it doesn't matter. What matters is the contact, the closeness. No distractions, no phones, no television. Just 2 human beings, 2 souls, holding one another in silence. Your heads are side by side. Your breaths slowly begin to align. The beat of your hearts becomes audible, not just to the ear, but that's the essence of the heart-to-heart hold. It's a posture of honesty. You can't fake closeness here. You can't pretend to be emotionally absent. It forces you to be real, vulnerable, present. This position isn't about eroticism in the way the world usually defines it. It's not flashy. It's not about wild passion. It's deeper than that. It reaches into the emotional layers of a relationship, the ones that often go untouched for years. Why? Because people become strangers, not intentionally, but gradually. Work, responsibilities, disappointment, and the passing of time build emotional walls. And before you know it, you're sharing a house, but not a connection. But the heart-to-heart hold pushes against that drift. It says, I still want to feel you. Not just your skin, but your spirit. And that matters, especially now, especially in a season of life where the world wants to tell you that intimacy is behind you, that you should settle for comfort instead of connection, that desire fades, that touch becomes irrelevant. That's a lie. The truth is, when you hold someone with that level of sincerity, when your chest presses gently against theirs and your breathing starts to sync up, you begin to remember not just who they are, but who you were together. There's something profound that happens in silence. In youth, people often fear silence. In intimacy, they think it means something is wrong. But with age comes a deeper understanding. Silence is sacred. In the heart-to-heart hold, there is no need to perform, no pressure to impress, no act to keep up, just quiet togetherness. In that silence, tears can come, so can laughter, so can confessions, forgiveness, or simply the relief of letting go. The body, when it's held tenderly, begins to speak truths the mouth forgot how to say. And the beauty of this position is that it requires no strength, no perfect flexibility, no instruction manual. It's accessible, it's human, anyone can do it. And the impact is enormous. Studies show that when people lie chest to chest for just a few minutes, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, surges, blood pressure drops, anxiety lessens, emotional walls begin to soften. This is not poetic theory, it's biological, psychological, and deeply spiritual. After 50, the body has changed, yes, but what no one talks about enough is that love changes too, and it gets better when you let it. you realize that intimacy isn't confined to what happens between the sheets. It's built in the little moments, the intentional moments where you choose to say, I still want you, I still choose you. That's what the heart-to-heart hold communicates. It's an unspoken declaration that even after all this time, even through all the changes, the connection still matters. It also helps restore a sense of safety. For many couples, emotional injuries pile up over the years. Arguments, distance, words that wounded. And when physical closeness becomes rare, emotional closeness suffers too. But this simple act, just lying together, heart to heart, can begin the healing process. It's not about solving every problem in that moment. It's about creating space where healing can begin. The body remembers safety, and when it's held in love, especially consistently, trust begins to rebuild. This position is also deeply grounding. In a world full of noise, chaos, and endless distractions, it brings you back to what truly matters. Your relationship, your presence, your commitment. And the best part, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. At first, you might feel uncomfortable. You might laugh nervously. You might wonder what you're supposed to say or do, but eventually you'll find that you don't need to say anything. You'll simply feel each other, and that's the goal. Intimacy after 50 isn't about chasing what you used to have. It's about creating something new, something deeper, more rooted in who you've become together. And the heart-to-heart hold is a daily reminder that closeness isn't gone. It's just waiting to be claimed again. So lie down, slow down, hold each other, not to fix, not to prove, but to be, to feel, to return. That's where intimacy lives now, and it's waiting for you. In a world that constantly moves fast, scrolling, working, rushing, we often forget that intimacy thrives in slowness. And after 50, when life has settled into its rhythms and patterns, something powerful happens when two people choose to stop, sit, and simply face each other. That's where the seated embrace comes in, not just as a physical position, but as an invitation to deep, conscious connection. This is not about grand gestures or elaborate settings. It's you and your partner seated, facing each other. Maybe it's on the edge of the bed, the couch, or even the floor. Your knees touch, your hands rest gently on each other. Eye contact is unbroken. In this position, you are exposed, not just physically, but emotionally. There's nowhere to hide, no distractions, no need to perform, just presence. And that's the gift of the seated embrace. It strips away the noise. It removes the masks that time and routine sometimes force us to wear. In the early years of a relationship, intimacy is often driven by novelty, but later in life, true intimacy is driven by intention. When you choose to face your partner, body to body, heart to heart, you are saying, I see you. And in a world where people are starved for attention and presence, that kind of seeing is rare and sacred. There's a certain vulnerability in sitting like this. You're not lying down. You're not being passive. You're actively engaged. You're saying, I'm right here with you. That matters, especially for couples who've weathered decades of life together. After 50, it's easy to assume your partner knows how you feel, what you need, what you long for. But assumptions kill intimacy. What keeps it alive is attention. And there is no clearer form of attention than sitting face to face, choosing stillness together. In the seated embrace, touch becomes deliberate. A hand on the cheek, fingers tracing each other's hands, a forehead resting on the other's. These aren't just romantic gestures, they are reconnections. Every touch is a reminder. I'm still here. We're still us. And if you allow yourself to be truly present, you'll be surprised by what surfaces. Maybe it's gratitude. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's laughter. Maybe it's even tears for what you've lost or missed over the years. All of it is welcome here. This isn't a performance, it's a homecoming. One of the most powerful elements of the seated embrace is eye contact. In youth, we often look at each other to admire. With age, we begin to look into each other, to understand, to hold space, to offer comfort. Eye contact, sustained and sincere, is one of the most intimate acts two people can share. And in the seated embrace, it becomes a language of its own. Words may not come easily. That's okay. Let the eyes do the speaking. Let silence say what the tongue can't. What's also remarkable is how this position rebalances power in the relationship. It's not one partner hovering over the other. You are equals here, mirroring one another, sharing energy, offering and receiving at the same time. And in that equality, love becomes mutual nourishment. This is where emotional safety is rebuilt. This is where touch becomes healing, not demanding. This is where desire returns, not as urgency, but as depth. You don't need to hold this embrace for hours. Even a few minutes a day can create dramatic shifts in your relationship. The consistency matters more than the duration. Like watering a plant, daily connection nourishes emotional roots. When you skip this, intimacy dries up. But when you make this simple act part of your routine, you're saying we're not just growing old together, we're growing deeper. And yes, from this position, physical intimacy may follow. But that's not the point. The goal isn't to arouse, it's to connect. And it's that connection that becomes the foundation of meaningful physical closeness. When emotional intimacy is restored, physical touch becomes more satisfying, more natural, more fulfilling. This embrace also invites honesty. If you need to say something about how you feel, what you miss, what you're afraid of, this is the place to say it. The posture disarms defensiveness. You're not fighting, you're not hiding, you're just two people together. And that space can hold anything: disappointment, longing, forgiveness, joy. You've made it this far through challenges, disappointments, changes in your bodies, in your roles, maybe even in your dreams. But just because you've come a long way doesn't mean you've finished growing. The seated embrace is a place of growth. It's where two people, even after years together, choose to meet again, to remember, to rediscover. So sit with each other, really sit, face to face, no agenda, no pressure. Let your bodies soften. Let your minds quiet down. Let your hands reconnect. You don't need to chase youth, you need to choose presence. Because after 50, intimacy doesn't fade unless you let it. But if you stay open, if you stay willing, it can deepen into something richer than ever before. The seated embrace isn't just a position, it's a practice, a decision, a vow to stay close even when life tempts you to drift apart. And in that decision, you keep love alive. Not just in memory, but in motion, every single day. Intimacy after 50 isn't about trying to relive your 20s. It's not about proving anything or chasing a younger version of yourself. It's about becoming wiser in your connection, more present in your love, and more intentional in how you touch, hold, and share space with your partner. One of the most powerful ways to nurture this mature intimacy is through what I call the side-by-side sync. At first glance, it may seem simple, even too simple to matter, but don't let that fool you. The most powerful truths in life are often the quietest. Lying side by side with your bodies aligned in a gentle curve, shoulder to shoulder, hip to hip, legs nestled together. This position may seem passive, but it is anything but. It's about closeness without pressure. It's about rhythm without urgency. It's about simply being together without performance. In this posture, you're not facing each other in confrontation or expectation. You're facing the same direction, moving together in quiet alignment. The beauty of this position is that it mimics the deeper rhythm of long-term partnership. When you've been with someone for decades, you're no longer just lovers, you're companions in life, walking side by side. The side-by-side sync reflects that truth physically. You're saying without words, we're still in this together. We still move as one. At this stage of life, many couples wrestle with disconnection, not because they don't love each other, but because the pace of life, work, parenting, aging, health, pulls them into their own isolated corners. And with physical changes that may include pain, stiffness, or fatigue, intimacy can begin to feel like work instead of joy. But the side-by-side sync bypasses all of that. There is no demand for flexibility, no rush, no proving. It welcomes everybody exactly as it is. When you lie beside your partner like this, close enough to feel their warmth, to hear their breath, you reestablish a fundamental truth. Physical presence matters. In this space, words aren't needed. In fact, it's better without them. Let the silence do the work. Let the rhythm of your breathing and the alignment of your body slowly settle. After a few minutes, you'll notice a shift. Your nervous system begins to calm. Your shoulders draw up, your muscles release, and most importantly, your heart opens. This is the genius of the position. It activates connection at a primal level. Human beings are wired for touch. We are calmed by proximity. Our anxiety lessens when we feel held, even without being held tightly. And in a long-term relationship, we often forget how powerful the simple act of closeness can be. We look for fireworks when we need the quiet flame. And yes, this position is sensual, but it doesn't begin that way. It begins with respect. It begins with presence. It begins with saying, I'm not in a hurry, I'm here. And if sensuality naturally follows, it does so from a place of connection, not pressure. That makes all the difference. Especially after 50, when the body becomes more sensitive to stress, to self-consciousness, to emotional distance. Intimacy has to come from the inside out. The side-by-side sync honors that. It allows your bodies to speak to each other without words, to reacquaint themselves with closeness in a way that feels safe, warm, and deeply satisfying. There's another hidden gift in this position. It promotes equality. Neither person is leading, neither person is dominating. You're equals, lying together, connected in motion and in stillness. That sense of equality is healing, especially if your relationship has weathered its share of power struggles, unmet needs, or periods of emotional drought. This is a position of unity, of mutual giving and mutual receiving. And that kind of balance is not only powerful, it's rare. Even if you begin without touching, simply lying close, breathing, your bodies will naturally begin to reach toward one another, a hand resting on a waist, a foot wrapped around a leg, a gentle press of the back against the chest. These micro movements matter. They say, I still want to be close to you. I still feel safe here. And when done consistently, night after night, week after week, this simple habit rewires the nervous system. It replaces stress with peace, distance with warmth, routine with romance. And over time, this position becomes a sacred space, a place of return. Maybe after a long day, after a difficult conversation, after a celebration, it becomes the reset button on emotional connection. You don't have to talk it out or fix everything. You just lie together, breathe together, align, sync. And make no mistake, the healing found in this position is real. Physical intimacy after 50 often requires adaptation. Bodies change, hormones shift, Energy fluctuates, but connection doesn't have to suffer. It only needs to evolve. When you allow your intimacy to be led by connection first, everything else falls into place. Desire returns, comfort increases, confidence grows. It's a myth that passion fades with age. What really happens is that most people stop nurturing it. They get busy, they stop touching, they stop lying close, they stop sinking. But when you reintroduce this simple, powerful act into your daily life, you begin to reverse that decline. You create the conditions for desire, for affection, and yes, for love to grow again. So tonight, or any night, don't overthink it. Just lie beside the person you chose all those years ago. Let your bodies remember what your words have forgotten. Let the silence become sacred. Let your breath slow down. And let your love once again find its rhythm. Because after 50, love doesn't retire. It deepens, it softens. And in the side-by-side sync, it lives again. Quiet, steady, powerful, just like you. Touch is language. It's the first language we ever spoke before we knew how to form words, before we could explain ourselves with sentences. A hand reaching out, a warm embrace, the soft press of a palm over the heart. And yet, as relationships age, this sacred language often falls silent, not because the desire is gone, but because the guidance is missing. That's why the guided touch becomes so transformative, especially after 50. It's not just a position, it's an act of courage, vulnerability, and conscious connection that brings intimacy back to life in a way that words never could. What makes this position so powerful isn't the complexity of the physical touch, it's the simplicity of permission. It begins with an invitation. Show me what feels good. That sentence alone can dissolve years of assumptions, misunderstandings, and quiet disappointment. You see, couples who have been together for decades often fall into autopilot. They touch where they always touched. They kiss the way they always kissed, not out of laziness, but out of habit, out of fear of saying the wrong thing, out of worry that asking for something new might hurt their partner's feelings or shake the comfort of routine. But intimacy is not maintained by routine. It's maintained by presence, by staying awake, by asking again, by listening with your hands. And that's exactly what the guided touch invites. It starts when one partner lies back, fully clothed, half-clothed, or naked. It doesn't matter. What matters is that they feel safe, open, and unguarded. The other partner becomes the student, not the performer. Their only task is to follow instruction. Softer here, slower, hold this spot, no movement, just pressure, or even, let's try somewhere else. There's no shame, no ego, no pressure, just truth. This right here is emotional maturity. When two people can guide each other, not as criticism, but as connection, they step into a new kind of intimacy, a kind that isn't rooted in youth or heat or hormones, but in deep, respectful desire. And that desire is sacred. It's the desire not just to touch, but to know what your partner craves, what makes them feel alive, what helps them let go, and to allow yourself to be known in the same way. For the one guiding, this is a moment of self-advocacy. You're saying, I know my body now. I've lived in it long enough to understand what opens me, what overwhelms me, and what I need to feel safe. That kind of clarity is power. And for the one receiving the guidance, this is a moment of devotion. You're saying, I want to learn you again. I want to love you the way you want to be loved, not just the way I always have. The beautiful truth is that after 50, people often come into a new relationship with their own bodies The distractions of youth, the insecurities, the comparisons, the pressures begin to fade. You know what matters now. You understand that real pleasure is not about excitement alone. It's about trust, timing, and tenderness. The guided touch honors that wisdom. It gives you permission to rewrite your script, to step outside the old routines and create something that feels more real, more satisfying, more aligned with who you are now. There's also a deeply therapeutic element to this practice. So many people carry silent shame around their needs. Maybe they've been rejected before. Maybe they've learned to stay quiet in bed just to keep the peace. Maybe they were never taught that they had a right to ask for what they wanted. But when you begin to guide your partner with confidence, with kindness, you reclaim that right. You affirm that your body matters, that your pleasure matters, that you matter. And for the one being guided, it becomes a profound act of service, because love after 50 isn't about conquest. It's about contribution. It's about saying, I am here for your wholeness. I am here for your joy. That level of presence, where every movement is a response to a request, where every touch is a question instead of an assumption, that's not just intimacy, that's reverence. This kind of connection also brings playfulness back into the bedroom. It's easy to lose that lightness over time. When touch becomes mechanical or rare, you forget how fun it can be to explore. The guided touch changes that. It invites curiosity back. What happens if I do this? How does this feel? Let's try it slower, deeper, warmer. You start to experiment again, not from a place of desperation, but from a place of joy. And joy is something we must fight to protect as we age. The world tries to convince us that intimacy is for the young, that passion has an expiration date, that desire should quietly retreat after 50. That is a lie. Your capacity for joy doesn't fade, it just needs different conditions to grow. The guided touch creates those conditions. It's not flashy, it's not about speed or performance, it's about curiosity, patience, and emotional generosity. Make this a regular ritual, not just a once-in-a-while experiment. Turn down the lights, slow the pace. One night you guide, the next night they do. There is no right or wrong, only discovery. And in that discovery, a deeper intimacy is formed, one that is tender, honest, and built to last. Because at this stage of life, you don't need to chase fireworks. You need to light candles, soft, steady, sacred flames that warm your connection and illuminate your love. That's what the guided touch is. It's not just a physical practice, it's a spiritual one. And it's yours to claim tonight and every night after. Aging is not a decline, it's a refinement. And nowhere is that more apparent than in the way we approach intimacy after 50. In our younger years, we often take physical comfort for granted. We move quickly, rush into closeness, assume the body will keep up. But as we age, the body starts speaking more clearly. It asks for support. It requires care. And when you begin listening to it, not with frustration, but with compassion, you open the door to a whole new kind of intimacy. That's where the pillow support connection comes in. It's not just a position. It's a mindset, a philosophy of touch that honors the body while deepening emotional connection. Many couples over 50 believe that if their bodies can't do what they used to, then their sex life is simply over. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The real problem isn't age, it's rigidity. Intimacy doesn't disappear because of physical changes. It disappears when we stop adapting. The pillow support connection is about adapting with wisdom. It's about acknowledging that comfort is not a luxury, it's the gateway to deeper pleasure. Let's be honest, stiffness, back pain, arthritis, hip sensitivity, joint fatigue, these are all common realities after midlife. And too often they make physical intimacy feel like a challenge rather than a joy. But this is where creativity and intention come in, supporting the body with pillows strategically placed under the knees, beneath the hips, behind the back, between the thighs, can transform your experience from strained to soothing, from tense to relaxed, from distracted to deeply connected. Comfort isn't unsexy. It's the foundation of true sensuality. When your body is supported, your nervous system relaxes. You stop bracing, you stop fidgeting, you stop worrying about discomfort or pain. And that's when your attention shifts away from the body's limits and toward the partner you're with. You become fully present. And presence is the heart of great intimacy. What's more, when you take the time to arrange those pillows, when you pause to ask, is this better for your back, or do you feel supported here? You're doing more than adjusting posture. You're sending a message. I care about your comfort. I see you. I want this to feel good for you. That level of attentiveness creates emotional safety, and emotional safety leads directly to physical openness. When someone feels seen and supported, they're more likely to surrender into connection, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually. Using pillows to support your intimacy also sends a powerful signal to your own self-worth. Too many people, especially women over 50, believe they need to endure discomfort to make intimacy work. They think asking for support makes them a burden, that adapting the environment is somehow cheating. But it's not. It's wise, it's loving, and it's deeply mature. Creating a supported, sensual space isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of reverence. It says, I deserve pleasure without pain. I deserve care and comfort while I connect with someone I love. For couples who may be navigating health conditions, chronic pain, limited mobility, past injuries, this practice becomes even more essential. With the right support, nearly every position can be modified for ease and enjoyment. Pillows can elevate, they can cushion, they can realign the spine, they can take pressure off delicate joints. And the more supported your body is, the more energy you have to be emotionally available, to give, to receive, to explore. And let's not forget, the act of placing those pillows, of arranging them together, can become its own form of foreplay. It slows everything down. It brings care into the process. It invites laughter, eye contact, and shared effort. It turns intimacy into a ritual, not just a routine. And rituals matter. They signal to the brain and heart that this moment is sacred, that this closeness matters, that this love is being nourished on purpose. Another quiet benefit of the pillow support connection is how it equalizes the experience. So often one partner may feel that their body is less capable, and that can lead to insecurity or withdrawal. But when you both engage in creating a comfortable environment, when you both use support, you remove hierarchy. You stand together in adaptation. You affirm that pleasure is for both of you and that it can be accessed in whatever way works now, not in the way it worked 20 years ago. This posture also teaches a deeper lesson, that love evolves. And when you evolve with it, instead of fighting change, you find a richer, more sustainable form of closeness. You no longer chase intensity. You cultivate intimacy. You don't rush, you remain. You don't aim for perfect performance. You aim for honest presence. Some nights this practice may lead to soft, sensual connection. Other nights it may be a warm cuddle, a quiet moment of breathing together, a kiss on the shoulder, or simply falling asleep in each other's arms. All of it is intimacy. All of it counts. And the more consistently you create comfort, the more frequently desire will return, not as pressure, but as possibility. So bring out the pillows, stack them, fold them, Experiment. Make a nest of softness where your love can land. Take your time. Communicate. Laugh. Adjust. Listen to your body. Listen to each other. You are not trying to recreate the past. You are creating something new, something wise, something resilient. Because after 50, love becomes about knowing, not guessing. About adapting, not resisting, about building something that fits who you are today, not who you once were. And when you build with intention, with care, and with support, both physical and emotional, your intimacy doesn't fade, it flourishes. This is the power of the pillow support connection. It's simple, yes, but it speaks loudly. It says, we are still here. We are still learning, and we are still choosing each other comfortably, joyfully, fully.